And I recently noticed that this coming April is this series' 5th anniversary. From the moment I accepted that my career would not be multifaceted media productions and settled into YouTuber life, giving away my ideas for other people to produce them. Like, yeah, I do still want to make some media productions, but whenever that will be. I mean, we've all got our lot in life, but that's a lot to process. It's not a lot, but it's our life. Thank you, Bugs Life. I also noticed that the video released just before my first episode has been the one I am most proud of for this whole time. My media essay on Yooka-Laylee and the deeper themes that it could have had. Took me 10 years to release the first video I'm proud of. Sorry, I am going on a bit of a ramble, but I've got a lot of stuff to cover. A lot of feelings. I noticed this by transferring from Twitter to Blue Sky, along with every other YouTuber I follow, sharing that video for my new audience. And then made the mistake of thinking about the game again. More like Yooka-Replaylee. No, I'm sorry, I'm not doing that one. No, I'm sorry. I will admit I had bad timing on the release of the first video, like 2 days after the sequel released. And now that I'm making a follow-up video in time for the remake, I'm just going to look like a really butthurt internet troll that hasn't let it go that Yooka-Laylee was not the pinnacle of gaming in the modern era. Hopefully I release this before the remake releases so I don't repeat history. In all honesty, I have softened a lot on Platonic Games now that they're publishing other indie titles that I've enjoyed. I've found more things that I like about the original game and in the sequel, and from what I've heard of the remake so far. I've also finally played the Inspiration, the first 2 Banjo-Kazooie games. Then playing the sequel, I did think about making a video to rework some of the branching paths and challenges across the game to make it a little more efficient. 3 hours for 1 collectible, Banjo-Tooie can go suck a minge! But I had no idea on where to start with that video, so it fell by the wayside. However, making this an Ideas to Inspire Ideas video, a lot of my thoughts on the original Yooka-Laylee are very narrative and theming based, while the remake seems to be focusing on gameplay and challenges. So I do feel comfortable saying you can take these ideas with you and make them into the next story-based platformer collectathon game that you're making. Again, the concept of the game is you open a book, drop it on the floor, explore part of the world, then add pages to expand it and add more challenges. I'm not focusing on the hub world or the game overall because in my original video I did already cover the concepts that I wanted more explored. So for that kind of stuff, go back and watch it. I'm just focusing on the 5 interior levels that are all placed inside storybooks, which don't have stories in them, which is what made me confused in the first place. So this is all about adding the story to the books, as well as the worlds. So I'll mainly be focusing on rearranging the challenges that are there, change the context of certain challenges, adding a little extra dialogue or visual elements, rather than adding a whole bunch of stuff that I think should have been in the original game. I even color-coded my lists Red are the challenges I didn't complete, because I just didn't bother. Blue are the ones for recurring characters that are in every world, or multiple worlds. And green are the ones that I feel really connect to what I wanted for the story, just to make them stand out. I was feeling in a platformery mood lately, just wanting to play some games to shut my brain off. So, good timing. And one more thing, last time I suggested this video that looks more into some of the shortcomings of the game. Now I recommend this video that does look at some of the good things that the game did do and other games could do moving forward.
I hate this jungle.
First level, starting easy to ease players in. It is very much your classic pulp fiction jungle adventures. Aztec architecture. There's about 3 or 4 puzzles that actually use the temple aesthetic. One literally for glyphs. I'd kind of want to see more of them. And one treasure chamber that you have to find by talking to the explorers who are infiltrating the jungle, not necessarily the natives. Yeah, the treasure chamber belongs to the giant rock guy. What does he have to do with treasure? I mentioned that one character owns a temple who could be really into those kinds of puzzle types. Essentially just give Duke a bigger role in the story here. It's his area, he's set up the puzzles, he wants to challenge Yooka-Laylee just for his own amusement, maybe? Effing rich people. Otherwise, Duke is there just for 2 short activities, one that doesn't give you a pagey, 1 spot of tribalism. The irony of these classic stories is we're going through fancy traps that still work after thousands of years, but then you actually address the people who made them and you portray them as savage morons. There is a bit of a disconnect that most people don't think about. Okay, Yooka-Laylee doesn't go too far into tribalism, thank God. It's a very typical postmodernism way of telling a story these days, looking at the old tropes and deconstructing them or addressing the older issues. In another sense, Yooka-Laylee was taking the older elements of platforming and tried to bring them anew, and failed until the sequel. So, yeah, that's World 1.
Christ! I was frozen today!
I mentioned the last section that we do have explorers coming into the jungle. They're all dressed as knights in heavy metal armor, which tactically is pretty stupid and historically screwed the Spaniards over. And they're pigs who really like cool, refreshing activities in mud. In World 2, we do explore ice caverns and a frozen lake with a medieval castle sitting on top. But we don't see the Knights of Hamalot. I do know that in the context of the game, the castle is the isometric castle, a different perspective to make it stand out. I'm not saying that we have to retheme everything or change the pigs to be isometric. I'm just saying make a connection between those two. Like the flag posts, I don't want to say put a roasted ham on their flags, because how many other flags use a dead body? Pirate ships, yes, but they're supposed to be the bones of their victims, not the bodies of the people who live there. I don't know, what else could be a symbol for pigs other than a dead carcass? And you talk to each of them fairly regularly through the rest of the game. One of them could mention that their home got too cold for them to stay, so now they're exploring other worlds, not necessarily to invade, but just because they couldn't stay in the icy caves. Okay, I'm a little light on ideas for this world, short of sticking a mammoth in there or a dinosaur. Oh wait, there's already a dinosaur in there. Outside of the castle, it didn't really give me a lot to work with. Snowman hats, another tribal village that you completely destroy. Colonialism. Inside the castle, you do some frozen related stuff. And a jacuzzi. So what I went with was, hey, isn't it funny that this particularly dressed group of characters can be found in every other world except the one where they fit in? And this is the world that actually clicked to send me down this thought process. At first it does seem a bit disconnected. A Halloween swamp with pumpkins and monsters, but then a lot of references to pollution and cleaning the water and discarded trolleys and shopping. But then I thought about it. What's a common explanation for the monsters appearing in horror movies? Pollution, toxins, radiation. We've got 4 trolley characters scattered around. Only one of them really mentions owning a supermarket. The others are about cleaning up or a random electricity maze. We mentioned that the electric maze used to be a grocery store with all the aisles transformed into moving. A publicity stunt to get the shelves to come to the customers, which corporate thinking really screwed up. Trev's the tent icon. He'll be the main mutation. He is accessible before expansion, but we move him to later. We get to explore the muddy swamp before we clean it, and then we see the results after we expand the world. Yeah, this would come off as a preachy environmental story. One, it is only one section of the greater game, so I think I can get away with it. But secondly, at the end of the story, we confront the trolleys for polluting the area, but they're like, hey, wait a minute, this isn't our fault. We were in the water too. We are just as much mutated as Trev was. A twist, the good guys were the monsters all along. Because yeah, you do find trolleys scattered in swamps and stuff. I should know. I work as a trolley collector. I know where they bloody show up.
Chicken!
Because this world is a casino, they're trying to play by their own rules. All the pages, most of the pages, are available by collecting a new currency, the casino tokens. A completely unique, collectible, extrinsic value only in this world. Bumps up collection to 190. Extremely annoying when one is at the top of the flagpole and one is hidden under the movable ramp, which the NPC nearby does not say something cute like, oh, I thought I had another coin here, but I must have lost it down the back of the couch. No, you have to intuit that the coin is hidden in a place you would not look. Otherwise, all the pages are connected to the banker in the center. All the challenges are just for more casino tokens. This one, bit of a no-brainer. Let's do a heist story. Cashino bandits, as they're called. The bandits start by saying, oh, this is the hardest game ever. You win. Oh no, boo-hoo. I'm gonna get scrapped. Taking the mini games throughout the casino, I'm not addressing the slot machines because they're painful enough already. They'll be playable, but very obviously rigged, so that players don't just brute force it and get frustrated. Extra lines saying, oh, come back later, you can't win this. Grounding for these guys to be all smug and snarky at you. Golf course, just like add a bunch more enemies to, or shorten the timer, one or the other. Instead of like building walls around the pachinko machines, we have employee only signs next to the tunnels and the security room, which I also think that glass should be frosted so we don't get to see in it. Then upon expansion, just like World 2 where it gives you a key to unlock the castle, in the new version we suddenly find an employee ID card. Now we can go into the employee only zones with an addition in the security room, a giant lever, which we can now switch to win, and now the games are winnable. So like nobody knows how things just changed. And now all the bandits are like, what? I thought this was unwinnable. What happened? Because there's actual grounding for them to believe that. Then obviously the vaults area, all the extra... Well look, a whole second page just for maths. My mother would be very proud. It's like, it's possible to get 18 pages before expansion. That is the highest amount for any other world. All in all, there's not actually much difference between like before expansion and after. I mentioned in the original video that Laylee the Bat, with her greed for wanting the golden pages, is the lesser of two evils next to capital B. Now, the player gets to actually have some fun with that by conning the con artists.
We're whalers on the moon.
We carry a harpoon.
But there ain't no whale, so we tell tall tales and sing a whaling tune.
And at this point in my playthrough, I just completely forgot my own colour scheme. Whoops. This is the least amount of pages available in the original versions. Would be nicer to see a little more, but for my idea, I don't actually think it needs to change. The first few areas, you get a lighthouse, which sets up the pirate theme. Obviously, the environment just sets up the space theme. A crane system and a prison. As far as my idea goes, all you need is a symbol or two on the walls. Because in the expanded world, there is literally only 2 challenges that reference a war between Blamphibians and Shell. Was that her name? Pirate bounty hunter lady. That's it. Literally nothing else says it. Because like pirates in space, I'm fine with that. There also seems to be a lot of like carnival attractions and stuff, which is just like one step too far. Like the golf comes back from the casino area, which that sort of thing would feel more appropriate. Strength challenge as a hammer thing, I don't mind, because it also fits into the war. Golf, fishing, it's just too much. Pretty much all we have to do is give each faction a flag, paste them around the place. I do know that the green and purple is very much Yooka-Laylee's colour. I didn't mean to do it that way. It was based on her colour scheme. They're supposed to be the bones of their victims, not the bodies of the people who live there. That's the designer's fault, not mine. But then have like one flag painted on top of the other, and then vice versa. So they're like stealing each other's properties. The crane starts as a Blamphibian location, which then becomes a pirate property. prison would be for the pirates, which then becomes Blamphibian. The boss fight of the area with Planette could be kicked off with her boyfriend being an unfortunate casualty of war, but because Yooka and Laylee are there at the time, they get the blame. Although, yeah, I do see it's fitting with the game's humour that the real reason is you casually shoot a cannonball up his arm. And it's just like all over the place until it escalates to the self-destruct switch. She blows up the planet. A chunk lands right next to her that has her own flag on it. And it's like, I thought I recognised this place. The irony that they keep fighting to the point where nobody knows who owns what. The pointlessness of war. Everybody says that first-person shooters don't work with the theme of violence is bad because of Lugo Scabby Bib Disco Biscuits. Is that not also the case for collectathons and capitalism? Yeah, the goal is collect 100% of everything, but for me, personally, I've noticed a lonely feeling going back at the end of an adventure once everything's done. Am I the only one who's felt that? Imagine Spyro the Dragon sitting there. Oh, I started with nothing and became rich, so that means anyone can do it. No, because there was only 200 gems in this world, and you took them all, you bitch. And then an NPC's in the corner like, this place was so beautiful and rich. And then everything changed when the fire dragon arrived. And he just stares off, cries a single tear, and you're just left wondering, what was it all for? Thanks for watching. This is my verbal declaration that I will not sue anyone for using the previous outline to create their own work, regardless of how much fame or money you might get from it. I'm definitely not the kind of artist who thinks I can own a concept. However, I would like to see what comes out of this video just for comparison and curiosity. If you do make something or find an existing piece that's similar, please let me know through Twitter or Facebook or email, and I'll happily check it out. And if you want to see the ideas I am working on for myself, please visit my Patreon page for samples and previews, no payment required. Happy creating, Bard Riley out! The first two Banjo-Kazooie games. This is a personal nitpick I've noticed about the original video. Not that anyone's commented about it, but I'm anticipating the criticism. I say that the original Banjo-Kazooie game ended with a trivia quiz instead of a final boss battle, which is technically true in that the credits roll immediately after the quiz. There is a boss fight as completion bonus. Just the way I phrased it before actually playing the game myself, I did criticize myself.